What's up, everybody, man? It's your boy, Mr. Dugai, coming at y'all with another episode of Dropping Dimes with Mr. Dugai. And today, man, I'm here basically to write the obituary for my 2020 and 2021 Miami Heat. Season is over as the Milwaukee Bucks have swept the Miami Heat, yo. Before I get into this video, man, for everyone, if you want to give me a follow on my social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, I'm going to have all that information down in the description box. May not always get a chance to respond to questions and comments on these videos, so feel free to DM me. And whenever I get a chance to, I'll get back at you. Come holler at your boy, yo. Before I get into what's going on with the Heat and what I think we need to do in the offseason to improve this team, let me rightfully first clap my hands and tip my hat to the Milwaukee Bucks. Yo. I gotta give it to them. Honestly, coming into this series, I didn't think it would go anywhere like this. To be, especially after Game 1. But you got to give them credit. You got to give their general manager credit because they made this team better than it was last season, yo. With Forbes reminds me so much of what Patty Mills did to the Miami Heat in 2014 in the NBA Finals, where we just couldn't do nothing with him. It felt like every 3-pointer that he shot up, it's like I was shocked when he would miss. That's how efficient he was shooting the three. PJ Tucker doesn't give them any scoring, but he does give them a toughness and a defensive presence. And Drew Holiday, not only does he give them scoring, he gives them really, really good ball pressure in the backcourt. You know, where Giannis, though he had a really good game today. His last two games were solid. Giannis didn't really have to do as much for this team as he had to do the last couple of years. He has a lot more help now. As far on both ends, on scoring and defensively. And Middleton, you know, I've always felt was a matchup problem for us with his height, his how long his arms was, and his release point, and the fact that he had such a very good, efficient jump shot. But I didn't realize that obviously I didn't watch this team all year long like I watched my Heat. I knew they had new people, but I didn't know they was going to have that much of an impact on that roster to where, look, I don't think Milwaukee will beat Brooklyn in a series, but I tell you what, Milwaukee could make that series very interesting. If they could shoot the three ball like that, they have defenders. They have, they have guys like a Giannis that could try to cover Durant. You know, they have guys like a Middleton who could put the ball in the basket, a Drew Holiday who they could throw on Kyrie. They got a Tucker who could guard Harden, his former teammate at times. They got a good team, man, and I think they could give Brooklyn a very scary series. Don't know if they'll win, but they could make it a scary series for the Brooklyn Nets. So look, I tip my hat to Milwaukee. I didn't see this coming. I thought the Heat really could have won this thing going into it. I felt good after Game 1, but then after that, they absolutely dominated us, man. This reminds me so much of what was it, 2007, when after we won the NBA championship, we turned around, first round, played the Chicago Bulls. And game one, like I want to say game one of that series was very nip and tuck, very competitive. And the Heat walked away from that feeling like we could win. And then after that, Chicago just ran through the Heat, the rest of the series, the next three games, which is what happened to us this year, man. So look, tip my hat to Milwaukee, man. Good job. Y'all did it. Way to respond, way to build your team, for specific, because teams, what you do when you lose in the playoffs, you build your team, especially in the NBA, not so much the NFL, but in the NBA. The NFL, you kind of build your team for the people in your division. But in the NBA, you build your team to face the team that eliminated you when you lost. And we eliminated Milwaukee last year, and they built their team to compete with this Heat team, and they did a perfect job. And like I said, I tip my hat to them and clap, congratulate. They beat us fair and square, man. No excuses. Yes, it would have been nice to have Oladipo out there, but I mean, honestly, I don't think Maybe we'd have won one game, but I don't think it would have made that huge of a difference. All right, now that I got that out of the way, man, now it's time for me to talk about my team, the Miami Heat, yo. Um, Look, man, we got to make some things happen. I'm very disappointed. I'm extremely disappointed in the way this season ended. As a Heat fan, I'm somewhat embarrassed. Um, Even if we would have lost this series, I would have thought it would have been like a 6 game series at least, maybe a seven. People were really excited, thinking this was going to be probably the best first round series out of all the series, and we put up that type of performance. Now, granted, they were a better team. We wasn't better than them. That was clear at halftime of game two. Like that, this team is just better. But um, we need one more alpha male on this team. The Heat needs one more alpha male on this team. We're missing that. I get it. We went to the NBA Finals last year, kind of with the same team, with the exception of we had a Jake Crowder instead of a Trevor Ariza, and we had a Kelly Olynyk instead of a Dwayne Dedman. Those are really the only differences between last year's team and this year's team. Um, and we made it to the finals. Maybe the bubble had a lot to do with it. I didn't want to face that reality, but maybe the fact that we didn't have to play nobody on their court, maybe the fact that we didn't have the pressures of doing too much at home, just playing in a empty arena and just playing strictly basketball. Maybe with the Heat culture and a leader like Jimmy Butler, maybe we were just more mentally prepared for that type of environment than these other teams, than the Milwaukee Bucks last year, than the younger Boston Celtics, than the younger Indiana Pacers. We were just more mentally prepared for that type of, unlike difference, that type of environment as these other teams. And now I'm finally put to a place where I have to admit that now. We Eastern Conference bubble champs, man. Because look, guys like Tyler Hero extremely disappointed me this season. Not just today, this season he let me down because coming into this year, if you remember when we played the Orlando Magic to open the season, Tyler Hero was the starting point guard. We thought we had, a little lesser version of the Splash Brothers, where how they have Steph Curry, a guy who handles the ball, get other people involved, and shoot threes at a high percentage, and a Klay Thompson, like a guy that mostly spots up for threes and knocks them down every now and then. Put it on the floor to get to the mid range and knock it down. We thought that's what we had in a Tyler Hero and Duncan Robinson coming into the season. But Tyler Hero has shown he's been very inconsistent with the basketball. He doesn't always protect it well. And he could get bullied in the backcourt with a stronger, more athletic guard. So we had to move him back to the bench. Duncan Robinson had his moments where at times he really knocked down threes, at times he didn't. Dragic is a player who does his thing. I love Gogi, but Gogi is getting older, yo. Bam Adebayo, he got the big contract. He showed it at times. He showed it a little bit today, and he showed it. I think about that game against the Brooklyn Nets on a Saturday night. We lost, and he had 41 points. But he didn't consistently show that improvement on the offensive end. Jimmy Butler in this series like disappeared. He disappeared, man. I don't know if it was the length of Milwaukee that Jimmy. Remember last year, Jimmy dominated this Bucks team, especially that game one. Jimmy had 40, and he didn't bring that to the table this series for whatever reason. A reason made some shots and did some things like that, but it just seemed like Jay Crowder was a little better. I like Dwayne Dedman as far as size, but other than that, man, it's just we weren't a better team though. I didn't see as much zone as I did last year or whatnot. And we missing that guy, yo. We're missing another 2-point scorer. And what I'm gonna explain to that, like what that is. You see, Milwaukee has a bona fide 2-point scorer in Chris Middleton and in Giannis Antetokounmpo, his way he could put the ball down and go to the hole. We need another 2-point scorer. And the guys, a lot of talk and chatter out there is Kawhi Leonard. He went because the talk is Kawhi wanted to play with Jimmy Butler in LA instead of Paul George, but Jimmy chose to come to Miami, so Kawhi settled in on talking to Paul George. Kawhi wants to play with Jimmy. So he went home, you played home, especially if the Clippers get bounced in the first round. We got to put our main sights on him, getting a Kawhi Leonard to come to Miami. That would be big, big, big time. You don't get him, you look at a guy like a DeMar DeRozan, though he doesn't have quite the defensive intensity and the mid-range scoring that you get with a Kawhi, but at the same time, you have a bona fide 2-point scorer in DeMar DeRozan. Or, like I've been saying for the longest, if Kawhi doesn't want to come, option number one is do what it takes to bring in Kawhi Leonard. If he says no, then, hopefully DeMar DeRozan is still out there. Like, hopefully nobody else picked him up. You go after DeMar DeRozan. The third thing you do, and it's something that I've been kind of saying for a while, we didn't do it this year when it came to James Harden. You make that trade for Bradley Beal. You give them Tyler Hero. You give them Kendrick Nunn. Maybe even you throw in Duncan Robinson also. You bring in, I love those guys. Those guys are awesome. I would prefer to just add Kawhi to what we have already. I would prefer to just add DeMar DeRozan to what we have already. But if you can't get those guys, you pick up the phone, you call the Washington Wizards, and you ask them who do they want for Bradley Beal, with the exception of Jimmy Butler and Bam Adebayo. Anybody else, any other 2 or 3 players or whatever, you can have any of these 3 except for Jimmy and Bam. And you bring in Bradley Beal, a guy who was second in the NBA in scoring, and you roll with that, and you just fill out your roster. One more thing I'm going to say before I get off of this video, man, that we need to do. Look, I thank him for everything he's contributed to this organization. I absolutely love Udonis Haslem. Big time player, 06 finals. I mean, he guarded Dirk Nowitzki. He was our starting point guard, power forward on a championship team. But it's time to open up that roster spot, man. If Haslem is going to sit here and throw chairs on the floor and coach and do all that, just put him on the staff, like we did with Juwan Howard. Just put him on the staff. Make him wear those shirts or a suit or whatever the coaches are going to wear. It's time for us to open that roster spot, man. Because, look, the Miami Heat are an organization that develop players. Duncan Robinson was developed. Kendrick Nunn was developed. Udonis Haslem himself was developed. That could be in roster spot for a player that could come in here and that we don't expect anything from and earn his way on the court. Like, that is a roster spot. These roster spots for this team, the way that we run our organization, is valuable. That could be a young player that wasn't drafted that could play his way onto the court like a Kendrick Nunn or Duncan Robinson, our starting point guard and shooting guard for the majority of the last couple of seasons. So look, with Haslem, with all due respect, turn in your jersey, man. Grab a t-shirt or a jacket and go on the coaching staff, man. That's enough of that. That's enough. We did that for a little while. That's enough. It's time to get serious. He needs to retire and be on the staff coaching if he's going to throw chairs and all that. I want that roster spot for somebody who could actually develop and get better. That's enough of that. But overall, hey, good season. It didn't go as we all thought it would go, but let's look forward to this offseason. See whoever comes out this thing and wins it, and look forward to this offseason. Tip my hat to the Bucks. But with that being said, that's all I got for y'all today. Appreciate y'all checking out the video. Hit the like button for your boy. Give me a subscribe. I'm going to have Miami Heat and NBA content throughout the year. Also, not on Memorial Day, but the following Monday after Memorial Day, I will do a live Q&A. Come on there, ask me anything, tell me anything. I'll answer your questions, respond to your comments, and give you a shout out on the live, yo. Y'all should join me. It'll be some good stuff. Until then, y'all have a blessed one. Let's go Heat.